It is the most brutal of all the strikes. Interesting way to kill a man. I'd start at that point if it was me. The killer took his time, at his mercy, with no muscle control, suffering until the bitter end. Suffering is what the widow wants. And welcome and thank you for joining me in the Haunted Basement Studio. And this is episode 4 of Slasher Ripper. Pretty much, we're going to call it chapter 4. All the characters now from 12 years ago are brought together and they are discussing Eddie's murder. A maid feeds them some pies. Does anyone else feel uneasy discussing this matter with Basil's staff in such close proximity? My staff knows that they will pay with their lives. Now, can we please get back to the subject at hand? All I was saying is that we need to find George Rondon and kill him. And the chief says, in this land, we have laws. Yeah, I've forgotten. Israel says, I, for one, would sleep much more comfortably knowing for sure that we caught the actual guilty party. Of course, George is the killer. The murders started happening the moment he arrived. For his showing up is the perfect distraction for someone devious. Fine, Basil says. We'll capture him. He's as slippery as an eel. After Eddie's, pardon my French, fuck up, he knows that we're after him. Basil says, it's getting cold. Now, let's just eat up. While they are eating, Basil says, so we should make it like he's a victim of the widow. I know I can think of a few sick, perverted things I like to do to George. Oh, Daddy, please tell. No. People, we gotta get this by the book. We gotta send a message around. We just can't go around killing rich people. What the fuck? Is this a bone that in my tooth? And they all start looking through their pies and they start finding gold teeth in it. And Basil says, the person I know with that many gold teeth was Eddie. Cut credit opening scene. They find words at the bottom of the dish where their pies were in, and they all keep on looking in it, and they all have words. And when they combine it, it says, justice for the unjust will be served piping hot. What the fuck? Basil goes to his maid and he's like, what the fuck did you put in the meat pies? I get them from the butcher, Yorgi, sir. Well, who brought them to you? How long ago, the chief says. I don't know him. It was very dark. What the fuck did he look like? He had a cap covering his face. George is the widow, Basil says. A master of disguises, too. He's always 5 steps ahead of us. The chief says, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna fight this? Pull yourself together. It's George, plain old. Pick a card, George. We just need to find the viper, and we will. And the detective and the chief go to the butcher, where they find Eddie's backbone. The widow must have gotten in here at night, because sometimes the butcher has to sleep there because his wife gets all mad at him. Israel, the mortician, is saying that the attack started on the body here on the 5th lumbar vertebrae. It is the least extreme of the hits, but it was bad enough to paralyze Eddie. The detective asked, and she's like, And next, he is hit at the theatrical vertebrae. Ending here is the top cervical vertebrae. It is the most brutal of all the strikes. It is very interesting because if I was to kill a man, I would start at that point, not in there. The killer took their time, at his mercy, no muscle control, suffering. all the way until the bitter end. Suffering is just what the widow wanted, the detective says. He is leaving a message. Whoever the killer is, they know one thing about the human psychology. What, someone like you? But I'm right-handed, and the killer uses their left. So does that clear me, detective? Well, the more pressing question is, does it clear George Rondon? Meanwhile, George is doing a ritual in the shrine to Regina Simcoe's picture. And now the detective goes to the theater where he sees the assistant, Shanika. George, I need to talk to him. Well, so do I. Dress rehearsals start in less than an hour. Have you heard from him? Not since yesterday. Do you know where he was last night? Did you not hear me when I said not since yesterday? Well, could you guess? George knows a lot of people in this town. People wish to commune with him. Do you know what George's handiness is? Left. Why? You can just leave if you're being all mysterious. Oh, you would, young lady. You better tell me right now if you know anything what's going on. Oh, George probably's at Regina Simcoe's house. Why? Well, he's obsessed with her. George is at Regina's house and he's offering her a potion, a tonic that will heal her from her grief of her dying husband. And right before she's about to take it, the detective runs in and slams the tonic on the floor. George is like, "What on earth are you doing?" Detective says, "I should be asking you the same question. You're under arrest for multiple murders." Verdi now is getting the house treatment after being whipped, mutilated, and mentally abused because the plans of her sick ass twisted sisters is to sell Verdi's virginity to the highest bidder. They tell Verdi that today is portrait day and they're gonna go get their photos taken. And so they head down to the Queen's chamber. And when they walk in, they're in Horatio's place with his assistant. And they end up tricking Verdi to take some nude photos. And they are saying it's going to be because it's going to be for your rich husband, that he will love it. You don't want to marry some poor old farmer. They're all about manipulation and mind control. And their plans alone pretty much is human. The chief is trying to shoot up some cocaine, but he can't get the needle in the vein. He's like, fuck, fuck. And he just fucking takes the needle and squirts it in his mouth. And then the detective brings in George. He's got him under arrest. The chief walks up to him all fucking high and ends up smacking George right in the face. And he says, "We got you, motherfucker." But the detective steps in and says, "Hey, George says he has an alibi, but he won't give it up, aka whoever he's fucking." But the chief says, "No, it's time to tell the whole city that we got our man, and the man is George." And he looks on and gets put in the jail cell. Basil Garvey walks up and he is asking him about the murders. And he says, "It all started when you got back into town." He says, "Perhaps the killer was waiting for all of us to get back together in the same city. I did not kill our friends." Basil says, "I arrested you and you're guilty." Yeah, the same way that you arrested Andrew May Sr. And was he guilty? "If you confess, I will see to it when you are hanged. It is quick and painless. And if you don't, you will feel every last tendon in your neck snap. Every last drop of piss will roll down your leg as you jerk. And trying to fight it to snatch your last breath. You won't even be alive. I'm safer in here rather than out there with you." You are sitting ducks, and I can tell you one thing, Basil. Our cunning friend, the widow, has something far worse than a little neck stretching in store for the two of you. The chief arrested the wrong guy. He has no evidence. The longer you waste with me, the more of a chance you give the widow to hunt you down. So Basil's saying you're building this case on a hunch? No, 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 no. It's his cloak. It's what the widow wears. George can't fit in that. The detective says, maybe he's using Shanika to pull off these killings. He's leading her. Hey, let me go get her. Basil says to the chief, you better get some real fucking proof. Otherwise, George is right, and the widow is planning her next move as we speak. The chief now is high as fuck, and so he decides that he's gonna go torture George, and he starts ripping off his toenail. Meanwhile, the detective is questioning Shanika, saying that we found the widow's costume and it is clearly for you. And she says, no, that is a new arc that we are working on. The detective ends up getting George Rondon's alibi from Shanika. Now back at Regina's house, Pastor is talking to Regina and she's saying that she doesn't want anybody to get hurt, but the man who killed my husband, I will feel rejoiced after he is beheaded. Back at the station, the chief is taking some more cocaine, and George is saying,
You're making a huge mistake.
as we are acquaintances, I kept everything below the knees, and now I'm going to start going up the body until you confess, and you will. George says, you're intoxicated and insane and far more guilty than I ever was. Not from what I remember from that night. And then he takes the ice pick and starts to stab George. And he's like, no, 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 please. Help me, help me, help me. And then the detective shows up. Chief, get off him. That's enough. You don't know what you're doing. George here, he's getting ready to crack. Mr. Crenshaw is his alibi. A pimp? You're going to believe a lying bullshit pimp? Yes, sir. He has corroborated with two witnesses. And Horatio says, he wasn't with any of my girls. He was with me last night. He spent the night with me as a guest from dusk till dawn. I sleep with men. You sleep with men? Yeah, and women. The chief grabs George and says, I'm going to arrest you for that. And then the detective grabs him. No, that's it. You are done, chief. You clearly are cracking up and you just broke the law. It's within the law I have been enforcing for decades. Sir, you've just tortured an innocent man. He's not innocent. You are clearly high as a kite. I assure you, I only had a few. No, it is scrambling your brain. You need to go home and straighten out now. I'll take in charge until you are recovering. What? Let's go. All right, fine. Horatio is back at the Queen's chamber. As he walks in, the Botticelli sisters are leaving. He asks her, what was all that then? Oh, just a little portrait session with the ladies. Since when do upper class women like the Botticellis come up here? My word of artistry has spread. Bullshit. Nothing fucking happens in this place without me knowing, and you know the rules. Don't think our friendship lets you break them. I promise you, I never. Hold your slippery tongue. I'll kick you back on the streets just as fast as I saved you from them. And the chief now is walking home at night in the streets and he is yelling, fuck, fuck, and he's drinking. With his blurry eyes, he sees a woman that looks like Margaret Maher. He gets into a carriage. He's saying, "It is you, my love." 12 years ago, the chief is outside a big mansion with Margaret, and he is saying, "I can take you away from this." And she is crying. She says, "You can? You know another house that needs a maid?" "I do. Mine." She says, "Sir, I don't want to disrespect, and I am most appreciative, but can the chief of police uh, uh, afford a maid under his employ?" "No, my lovely Margaret. What I meant to say is, can I take you away from this by making you my wife?" She kind of rolls her eyes. And so she says, "So you save me, and in exchange, I give to have sex with you whenever you want? I get to live the rest of my days in your one bedroom tenement, having your babies completely at your mercy? If I'm going to sell my body, I have done it before. At least I need to make some money out of this arrangement. Well, you know what? I best get back to work." And now the chief is in the carriage and he says, "I forgive you, and I know you can forgive me." The widow appears and wraps the rope around his hands, and the rope is tied up to the horses. He says, "I've been good since then. I've made one mistake." The widow smacks the horse's ass. 12 years ago, the chief walks into a room where Margaret is tied up. She has bruises covering her whole neck. She says, "Are you here to save me?" "I tried to save you, but you rejected me." Now you can save me. I'll go with you." "I am here to watch." And then he sits down and he lights a cigar. And then now the chief is being dragged through the streets by the horses, and a trail of blood is being left behind him. Cut credit scene. All right, you motherfuckers. I hope you fucking enjoyed that one, dude. That was episode 4, chapter 4, and part 5 of the slasher series. So tell me all what you think in the comment section below about that one. But before, let's talk about the final thoughts on the series all the way up. We got fucking all four, pretty much we'll say like first half. I don't know how many episodes this is. If you know, let me know. But yeah, so the whole fucking first part, first series is damn good. I'm loving it all the way through. They're giving a character in each episode their arc, and that character most likely is the one that's going to die. So if they're going to keep following that pattern, we can see what happens next and how many more characters we have. So maybe that can tell us how many more episodes there is. But I'm fucking loving it. um Still gonna hold a 9 out of 10 on the ranking. This one didn't have much of the widow in it, so it could have brought it down a little bit, but I felt with the development of the story in this one, so it really brought the 4 episodes together of where they're gonna go with it. And obviously, I mean, maybe there are some super elements in it, because when the chief at the end of the episode is all blurry vision, and then he sees the fucking he sees Margaret, and it looks like Margaret, and it's all blurry and it's raining, and he goes in there, and then all of a sudden, because he thinks it's Margaret, he gets in there. Then, like, is he seeing that? But then the widow appears, or was this person, like, and then this person was Margaret or looked like Margaret, and then put on the fucking cloak and the veil. I don't know. But yo, if you stayed this long, thanks for watching. Triple B's is out of the Haunted Basement Studio, and stab that sub button and like, and tell me what you think of slasher. Haha, later.